steps, guys. It's a little uneven here.
Thank you. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. Yesh kochavim sho oram magia artsa, there are stars above. So far away we can only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with the people that we loved. Their memories keep shining brightly, ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the star that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our lives. These are the ways that we remember. Esainai el harim meyayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai Ose shamayim be'aretz. Psalm 121. I turn my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian. Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now and forever. Shalom, my name is Rabbi Alan Finkel, and I am honored to lead this service on behalf of the Bromberg family. As together we honor the passing of Linda Ruth Bromberg, Vega Rachel Bat Zev Esther Shandel, the daughter of Wilfred Bromberg and Esther Bromberg, nee Clifford. She left us on Tuesday, July the 25th, 2022, at the age of... Clifford. She left us on Tuesday, July the 25th, 2022, at the age of 64. which on the Hebrew calendar we will mark the date of her passing as the 26th day of Tammuz in the year 5782. Linda was predeceased by her parents Wilfred and Esther and her brother Marshall Bromberg and sister Kimberly Bromberg. She was survived by her brother Erwin and sister-in-law Anita, and by her sister Pamela Bromberg, and her uncle Sam Borden, and many first cousins. She is also survived by 6 nieces and nephews and partners, Rudy and his wife, Diana and their 4 children, Evan, Hillel, Ela, and Eretz, and then Zev, then Shimei and his wife Bridget, and their child Aviv, as well as Shira, Lior, and Serena. And of course, Linda survived and will be remembered by so many other people from so many chapters in her life, and most certainly the huge number of students who came through her doors as a renowned piano teacher. I want to express my thanks to Linda's older brother Irv and his wife Anita for the time that we spent together on Zoom yesterday out of Toronto. They both had deep and lifelong connections with Linda. Irv obviously as her eldest brother and trusted brother, but Anita as well, who started as a school year's best friend of Linda, which was how she met and later married Irv. The stories they shared and asked me to share on their behalf were both beautiful and sad, for they inevitably turned to Linda's later mental health issues, which eventually overcame her and led to her early passing at age 64. Irv noted that Linda had never wanted to grow old, always loved the Beatles, and knew too well the lyrics of When I'm 64, and wonders if this day or this year was always meant to be. This may be the case, this may not be the case, for we know all too well that just as incurable physical illnesses like cancer march forward on their own schedule despite our wishes to the contrary, the same happens with mental illness. The interior pain overwhelming a person's body and mind and their spirit's ability to stay in this world. But today we respond to Linda's too early passing in exactly the same way as someone who passes away from an incurable physical ailment like cancer, with kindness and love and care and understanding, and by sharing the stories that tell us that Linda has made a mark in this world. Irv and Anita told many wonderful stories about Linda, as did individuals who reached out to me, and I'm especially appreciative in this pandemic lull that family has been able to travel to Winnipeg to honor Linda's final journey, and again because of COVID-19, for the technologies that we have had to embrace that allow us today to have family and friends, close friends, all present here with us in person or online, live or recorded and watch later, no matter where we live. Linda grew up in Winnipeg's South End Jewish community, the third of 5 children raised by her parents, Wilfred and Esther. She was a very good student, but not traditional in any way. Anita describes how they'd always get into trouble, not in big ways, but in the ways that always had her on the verge of detention. Talking and giggling and passing a paper game back and forth in class, Anita describes both of them as bored. And a typical story involved Linda finally being in detention, but escaping the detention room with the help of a boyfriend who opened up a window from outside to facilitate her escape. 18 years friend described Linda to me as simply as cool. In the early 70s, in the hippie era, Linda was the hippiest of the hippies, bell-bottoms and big curly hair, and emanating that vibe in the most natural way. Linda didn't like rules much, or the idea of living in a regulated structure, and so music became her outlet. Linda completed her master's degree in music in Toronto and returned to Winnipeg, where she became a beloved and outstanding piano teacher. Anita recalls Ronnie Wiseman of Blue Rodeo, as well as a number of the Watchmen as her students. But Linda's impact as a piano teacher was far and wide, all across the Jewish community, the general community, and apparently in her later years strongly into Winnipeg's Chinese community, where her joke was, they pay on time, and the children always practice hard at home. My parents would have appreciated that. And she also contributed but behind the jokes was her real truth, that she absolutely loved teaching music. And she also contributed her musical talents away from her home. She was Chai's music director for a number of years in the 1980s, and also taught music with Rabah Hebrew School for a period of time. Linda had a particular way of teaching which was profoundly successful. Instead of starting with classical music and turning kids off, Gail would track what was going on with popular music and buy sheet music for the most popular songs of the day. She would arrange the music for beginner and intermediate and advanced levels, and this is how she would teach her new students. Her goal was to get her students hooked on playing music that they loved, and in turn to fall in love with the piano, and then later she would introduce them to classical music to the students who simply took it on as a new challenge. She was exacting, highly organized with binders and labels and tabs, and she created in the most positive way a respectful and engaged learning experience. Another friend of mine in his late 30s contacted me yesterday when he heard I was leading the service to describe what a legend she was among so many of his friends who had Anita as their teachers, Linda as her teachers, absolutely loved, not just because of her teaching, but because of her unique personality. Linda was always unique and expressed it most obviously in how she dressed. The hippie era was just the start, and later she became known for dressing in black. She had a black piano, and she would note that pianos were black. Half the keys were black, so black it would be. But every so often there would be a touch of purple added. In later years, she started adding hats, good hats, to her wardrobe as well. Linda's path would not lead her to children of her own, but she absolutely adored her nieces and nephews and their children as well, although she stayed distant. Over the years, as she started to become more isolated, Irv and Anita would email photo albums and stories, and Linda would be overjoyed and full of love and caring as she tracked all of their lives. The pandemic hit Linda very hard. Music was her way of connecting to people and to the world. In her peak years, Linda was teaching 80 students. Think of it, 80 students at a time. But when COVID restrictions hit, she was limited to having exactly one student a day in her home. Irv worked with her long distance from Toronto to help repair her computer and webcam and 27-inch monitor in order to establish piano lessons online. But it would not be the same. And as we spoke yesterday, we surmised that the pandemic and its added layers of forced isolation on a self-isolating person may have been the tipping point for Linda. Anita and Irv described at some length that Linda had a comfortable relationship with death, formed many years ago based on the teachings of a particular author who she followed, who described passages back and forth between this physical world and the afterlife. Linda did not view death as an extinction, and that existence continues afterwards, and it was something not to be feared. In many respects, Linda's views accord with Jewish rabbinical and mystical teachings that death is not a final act, but rather it offers a window to a spiritual afterworld. In our tradition, a path towards Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. It is my hope, I'd say it's all our hopes, that Linda finds true peace and calm as her journey simply continues. The whole purpose of a eulogy, which I am doing right now, is for us to mark the impact that a person had in the world, a taste of the good people that they were, and the memories of Linda that we will all carry forward for the rest of our lives. And this is what Anita and Irv offered when I asked them. First was that Linda was a creative, bright soul that chose her own way to live. The second was that everything she wore was black, but it was the tiny splash of purple that mattered. And the third, I'll add, from all the stories that I heard, but the passion and love for music that filled her inner being, that Linda shared unconditionally to countless numbers of students who will in turn share their passion of music into the world from generation to generation. May Linda Bromberg, Vega Rachel Bat Z Esther Schendel inspire us always, and may her name always be for a blessing. Can you hear what's on? May it be God's will. Did you have some comments with it? Did you have some comments on it? You have some comments? Okay. Yeah. This is Irv? Yeah.
You gave the date of death. Is that correct, what you said?
I just took it from the sheet that I got Tuesday.
No, it was Monday. So
Monday.
On the 25th, it was 26th.
Thank you. I apologize. The information I received from Shaarey Zedek was that Linda passed away on Tuesday. It was actually on Monday. So this is the one correction. Thank you, Irv.
So that makes it the 26th of September.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I just wanted to tell an interesting anecdote about Linda. In high school, she was in high school. I was in first year medicine, and Israel devalued its currency by 40% or something like that. And I decided this is a good time to import some products from Israel. And I decided to import watch straps, the type that cover the watch so that the crystal doesn't get scratched, and about 100 of them. And then I was selling them. And but Linda had the most success selling them in her high school. She would go to school wearing a black trench coat lined with these watch straps on the inside, and wearing a bikini underneath, and she was a good-looking babe in those days, and she would go like this, want to buy a watch strap imported from Israel, and she sold much more than anyone else did that way. We had only a few left over after that. Anyways, that was funny. I was reminded of that as you spoke. Okay.
Over the next days and weeks, I'm hoping you share these stories with each other. This is how we would truly remember somebody. This is only the beginning of the grieving process and of the storytelling that we do. So we'll be concluding this part of the service shortly with the Al Mali Rachamim and the Mourners Kaddish, both in Hebrew and English. But before doing so, I'd like to describe how this day will unfold. There will be no formal meal of consolation after today's service, given that everyone's traveling from different places, and the family advises they will not be sitting a formal Shiva. However, while Irv and Anita are in town, they're hoping that family and friends will reach out to them either by email if they have the address, or they can contact Anita at her cell phone. I'll give you the number twice. It's 416-262-4539. It's 416-262-4539. We did discuss donations. The family will still be discussing this, but Jewish tradition does say that we do donate on people's memories. It's a way of nudging them towards Gan Eden. So in this particular case, whether you choose something in the mental health field or in the area of music, whatever you feel comfortable with, please feel free to step forward and bring true memory for eternity to Linda's name. I would remind you that Jewish tradition has us first take care of the person who passed away, and that's what we're doing right now. Gemilut Chasadim, and it'll be after the end of the funeral today, where we will be stepping forward into the second act, which is comforting the mourners. So this is the time to step forward to each other, to see each other as a community. So invite them to share their stories, and then in turn share yours. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamramim, Hamatzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, Im Kedoshim Hutohorim, Bizhar, Harakeya Hamazhirin, Et Nishmat Vega Rachel Ben Bat Zev Esther Shendel, Shalchala Olamo, Baal HaRachamim, Yastireha Beseter V'chanafav La'olamim, B'yitzror HaChayim Et Nishmatam, Adonai Hu Nachalatam, V'tanuach B'shalom Al Kol Mishkavav, V'nomar Amen. May the source of life, the fountain of all being, open our hearts to compassion and our eyes to wisdom, that we might glimpse in perfect peace and sadness the way of all things. May Linda's memory be for us a blessing, and may we never let the light of her love grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all her worthy and righteous deeds, that her memory be forever bound up in the bond of life. God is our source and our destination, our beginning and our end. May Linda's death awaken us to this truth, that the bond of love we shared and share not be severed in sorrow. May she rest in peace, and together let us say, Amen. Turn now to the Mourners Kaddish. There are copies here right now for the family, but in general terms, our more modern customs right now is that everybody's invited to step into the prayer if they choose to do so, or at least to say Amen when we do so. Again, it's as if you've said the whole prayer. Together. Itkadal v'Itkadash Shemei Rabah v'Yalma Divra Chirute v'Yamlich Malchute v'Chayechon u'v'Yamechon u'v'Chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael B'Gala u'Vizman Kari v'Imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabah Mevorach le'olam lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'Yishtabach v'Yitpa'ar v'Yitramam v'Yitnaseh v'Yitadar v'Yitaleh v'Yitalal Shmei Dekudesha Brichu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama Rabah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. In the last few verses in Hebrew, there of course is no mention of death in this. Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, extolled, glorified, adored, and lauded be the name of the Holy Blessed One beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise, and comfort, to which we say, Amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us in Israel, to which we say, Amen. And may the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. We move now to the last act. In Jewish tradition, to shovel dirt into the grave is a mitzvah, a righteous act which we do without any hope of reward. With this act, we take on the responsibility of caring for our loved one until the very end. Our loved ones deserve to be buried by kind hands, knowing hands, and sorrowful hands. You are invited to participate in this mitzvah. It is a painful act, however, one born of love and compassion for those who have meant so much to us. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. With Job we have said, God you have given, God you have taken away. Blessed be the name of God. And may the memory of Linda Bromberg be a blessing as we mark her essence will never leave our hearts and our souls. There are different customs. I'll ask you to choose your own regarding how to bury. Some people do one shovel, some do three, some people with shovel open, some people with the earth on the back. Choose the custom you want. There is something I will ask you, this is kind of my personal minhag, is that when you use the shovel, put it back on the pile afterwards. To take the shovel from somebody else makes the act of casting earth an obligation. To pick up the shovel by yourself is an act of love. Okay? So there are many shovels here. Don't feel obliged to pass it over. Place it back down, and please take your turns to honor, in a very last way, the ending of Linda's physical journey and truly the beginning of her spiritual journey and the beginning of truly the time of mourning. Are we going to start? So there's two choices here, depending on whether you're comfortable. One is you can use the shovel, absolutely. For people who have struggled with a large amount of earth, please feel free to use the trowel and the sand that's in the basket for the same reason. Okay? And again, I wish you all peace.